Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I'm in the same corner. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening if you're in a different part of the world. Hello, and welcome to this teeny tiny Wednesday wrap-up. Normally, my every other Wednesday weekly wrap-ups have 4 to 6 books, as I say in the description, but this time I only have one to hold up and one audiobook to talk about, so we're going to go into a little bit more detail, which is kind of fun. Yeah, so welcome. My name is Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction writer and eclectic reader. So we're going to talk about 2 books. Then I'm going to go into current reads, and then I'm going to go into imminent reads. So hopefully we'll all be able to join in on those. And then I'll give you some updates on other things happening on the channel, which is just fun. Happy April 1st, everybody. I don't do April Fool's things, so there won't be any pranks. This is a booktube channel. We're just straight shooters. What can I say? Let's see. I put in a question of the day for anyone who's interested. Since the imminent read is a tree book, I'm going to ask, is there a favorite species of trees? So we'll talk about that. We have some answers right off the bat. Cat Paw, hello, hello. Answered silver willow. Now, I'm not familiar with that, but that is a very nice sound together. Silver willow. Yeah, I like that. I know what a willow is, but I've never heard silver willow. Sounds very pretty. And Julie's here. Hello, Julie. Our answer is sugar maple because of the gorgeous fall colors. Oh, yeah. We had one in the front yard growing up. It was called Julie's climbing tree. Oh, that's delightful. Yeah, sugar maple. We have a maple relative, but a liquid amber looks like maple leaves, but I'm not sure if it's classed as a maple tree because it's not an acer. I think it's something else. Yeah, I think it's something else, liquid amber with one word. Interesting. So we'll get back to trees in a second, but let me know your question of the day answer, and I'm just going to dive in. This is going to be a shorter one today, maybe, but I do have a few excerpts to share. So here we go. City of Bells. Now this is the copy I have by Elizabeth Goudge. She is a modern writer, so first half of the 20th century. I like the cover, the slip cover. It's showing an ancient town based on Wells in England, but it's called Torminster in the fictional version. And we've got a little bookshop with the sign Jocelyn Irvin Books, which is one of the main characters in the book. Now, what I said before in my last stream was that I really appreciate Elizabeth Goudge because of her earnest style of writing. Now, she's writing before cynicism and sarcasm and all that sort of descended upon modern literature. And so I've read a couple of hers. I think this is my third one. And this edition I found in Canada. And I will give you a few tastes. How about that? So the first one is about books, since this is a bookish crowd. Here we go. So Jocelyn Irvin Books that you see on the cover is because one of our main characters doesn't know what to do with himself after he's injured in the war. He ends up opening a bookshop because everyone in town thinks he should open the bookshop. It's just pretty funny. But as we're preparing, the greatest excitement of all was the arrival of the books. Second-hand books for the library and glossy new volumes for the shop. Red and blue and green and purple and black with golden lettering and sometimes leaves edged with gold, so that when the books were closed, it seemed as though wise words were enclosed in golden caskets. I just thought that was fun for book lovers. Like, I definitely remember, first of all, probably Bibles were the first books that I saw gold edges, but yeah, other books, classics, children's classics, stuff like that had gold edged, gilt edged, and that was very exciting. So, book excitement. The next one is about reading. So, he opens his bookshop, and it does really well because everyone who's anyone needs to be seen there, right? And then to that, "It can't last," said Jocelyn to grandfather. "I'm a new turn, like a performing bear." "I think it will last," said grandfather. "In my experience, when people once begin to read, they go on. They begin because they think they ought to, and they go on because they must. Yes, they find it widens life. We're all greedy for life, you know, and our short span of existence can't give us all that we hunger for. The time is too short and our capacity not large enough. But in books, we experience all life vicariously." So, very similar to another more famous, more quoted citation. I don't know whose quotation that was, so I have a different version, which is Elizabeth Goudge. Let's see. Elaine and her crowd might find this one interesting. It's a passage about the criminals who mark their books on page 135. So Jocelyn, as the character, opens his bookshop, but the previous tenant of the building where the bookshop is was someone who like left town, and a lot of people think he committed suicide because he was very desperate and sad. And so he looks through, he left 3 books, right? And everything else was claimed by creditors because he was deep in debt. So he's going through his 3 books. He turned the pages, and with the entrance of Hamlet himself, his new mood of lulled peacefulness turned to one of tingling interest, for it seemed that Ferrante was one of those criminals who marked their books. With strokes, passage after passage was penciled in the margin with strokes that in places had cut like a knife. Jocelyn had always declared that if you want insight into a man's state of mind, you have but to look at the marked passages in his books. And now, as he read, he felt that he was getting to know Ferrante. So that's kind of part of the big plot, which is kind of fun. And I think we have one more, page 305, that I was going to share. Here we go. 305 is about, solitariness. So this one just seemed very familiar. I know as a theme of the channel, I've talked about how I have a goal of getting out more and connecting with people in real life because I felt really isolated since the pandemic and stay at home too much. So here's a little piece of this. They put together a play, and the play affects someone very deeply because he's made mistakes in his life. So he's thinking about this. "I cannot get back." It's in quotes. "He had left a certain mode of life and chosen another, and between that life and this a river ran, as impassable as the river of death. And now he wanted to get back to the world he had left, but he couldn't. He wanted to get back madly, desperately, but he couldn't, not even though he knew that the river was nothing but the inhibitions of his own mind. A man who has lived utterly alone for a long time ceases to be normal. A solitary who has cut himself off from human contact comes to have a terror of his fellow humans. A coward who has abandoned all responsibility is afraid to shoulder it again. A failure cannot trust to success. A sufferer who has been broken by life dare not be friends with it again. It was only his own mind that kept him back, but a man's mind can be his greatest friend or his greatest enemy, according as it serves or binds his will. And his was his enemy. Its terrors controlled him. He was bound hand and foot by his own weakness. It was no use. He was as good as dead. I cannot get back. So I love that the author dives into these really strong emotional states and tries to describe them in different characters that she writes. I think that's really wonderful. And I think that's really helpful for people reading it. So City of Bells, Elizabeth Goudge. I've got like a 1960s hardcover version, which I really liked. All right, let me get back in here. Julia says, crud, just got a pop-up saying my computer's going to restart in 3 minutes. Technology. City of Bells sounds so familiar. I wonder if I perhaps got it from the library 20 years ago. Could be. Could be. Speaking of the library, I had to renew my library card down here in California, and I took a checkbook, I think. They said it was a possible document that would suffice, and so I brought it down, and 3 seconds was done. It was great. So now I've got my library card for another, I don't know, maybe 2 years or something. It's the first time I've ever been called on a library card to re-verify. So they're getting strict these days, I suppose. All right, so that was City of Bells, and the audiobook. Let's see. I'll take this up here. The audiobook that I just finished is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter. And I'm going to pop this up so you can see the cover, because familiarity is really, I think, what gets people to remember a book. So there, let's all look at the really fun cover. So actually, do they say Agnes or Agnes? So they say Agnes. This book takes place in Montreal, in Montreal. It's by Heather Fawcett. The publisher is Del Rey. Thank you, Del Rey, for making this a Libro.fm ARC. And so there are people who speak French first, people who speak English first, people who speak both, and the main characters have both sides. So the main antagonist, to begin with, is someone who is Parisian. So when the narrator talks in their accent, she gives them a little Parisian accent in English, because the audiobook is in English. So there's lots of accents, but there is only a few words of actual French. But that's fine. That's fine. I really enjoyed this. It's a very cozy fantasy. You may recognize the author's name, Heather Fawcett. She also wrote Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I very much enjoyed. I think that has a sequel, and I haven't read the sequel yet because I borrowed the first one from a friend. So this one is on an audiobook, and I got to listen to it, and it was a delightful narrating experience. So well done to Geneviève Coq there, who is the narrator. And she says her name in French, so she must be bilingual, I'm guessing. Perhaps a Montreal resident as well. This book is about a parallel world, not our Montreal, but one that sort of resembles it, that has magic. And apparently magicians have a bad reputation because they really don't care about people without magic, and they tear up the regular people's world with their spells, and they bounce off people's buildings. So the essential problem at the beginning is that some magicians had a duel right outside her cat shelter in one street and blew open the wall. And winter is coming, so she needs to find another place to house her cats, because she takes in strays and then adopts them out once they're healthy and ready to go. And so she's searching and searching and can't find a place that is cheap enough for her to pay, but also meets the requirements. And so you get to know about all the prejudices against cats in the city and magicians in the city. And so it's a great inciting incident and opening for this world. I did wonder if we were going to get more of a time delineation, but I think there's horses and carts, which brings me to like 1910, but then there's also like paper clips and industrial things, so that I'm like more later. So I think that's just doesn't matter. It's a magical world. The real point is that the cat shelter lady, Agnes, and the magicians in that world are gonna understand each other better. So it's really nice, cozy fantasy. And we love Libro.fm for audiobooks. So please, if you are an audiobook listener, check out a service that is not Audible, because you don't want to support a monopolist who is doing bad things to lots of places that we love, like independent bookstores and small businesses everywhere around the world. So there. That was the second book that I've completed. I actually made a thumbnail with a third book, but I didn't get to finish it because Wednesday came too soon. I've been working on taxes for my family business and finishing up my manuscript, which I just sent off on Monday. And so I've been walking around because I need a daily walk, but only an hour. And so an hour at a time is not enough to finish Sisters of the Wind, which is a really good book I'm listening to. The narration is good, but it's more the book I think that I'm being compelled forward by. It's one of Angeline Boulley's books. It is narrated by Isabella Starr LeBlanc, who's a great narrator. And yeah, we see some characters we already know, and we find out about the horrors of the foster care system and why ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, is so important to enforce and improve upon. So yeah, really, really good topics to look at. So as I said, I have current reads. Sisters in the Wind is still ongoing, and I'll just visit the chat before I bring up my other current read. Jim, hello, Jim. Jim says, Johan Valer, a Norwegian inventor with degrees in electronics, science, and mathematics, invented the paperclip in 1899. Oh my goodness. Did you just look this up, or did you know that in your back pocket? That sounds like a quote. Okay. So paperclips, 1899. 1910 is still a possibility, but there is a couple other things that just made it feel a little weird. Julie says, I love the cover art for Mystical Cat Shelter. I wonder if the print edition has italicized French phrases. Not a fan. There's only like 3 times, so I wouldn't worry about it. I was in Montreal for the Olympics in 1976, and it's a gorgeous city. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. For the longest time, the Montreal baseball team is called the Expos, but when I looked at the stylized writing for Expo, it looked like elbow. So I'd always think it said elbow, and why are they calling their baseball team elbow? Young me. All right. Oh, Jim Googled it. Okay, yeah, great. Paperclip. Well, who knew? And Cat Paw says Montreal is on my bucket list, as is Savannah for its beauty. Yeah, I've heard great things about Savannah. Can't remember if I've been there. I know we got as far as South Carolina, and I know I've been to Louisiana on family trips. I don't think we went to Savannah. We may have. I was too young. I was probably like 8 or 9. But I have been to Montreal. I was in high school when we did that family trip, and it was great. I happened to meet someone in the bed and breakfast who we turned into pen pals, and then we ended up doing an exchange between high school and college. So this is why I love bed and breakfast arrangements. You get to meet people at the breakfast table. It's great. And trust them, in this day and age. All right. So in process, current reads, I'm still reading William Cobbett. The Life and Adventures of William Cobbett by Richard Ingrams. And since it is April 1st, this will qualify for People April because it's a biography. About halfway through, and I'll probably finish it in April. And I had some excerpts for this. So basically, if you don't know, William Cobbett is someone who is conservative English yeoman, I don't know, in about 1800, started writing. Before that, he had traveled to America and was writing, got in trouble. Before that, he was in France because he got in trouble, in the military in England. So he just tends to run his mouth, is the message that I'm getting so far. And I haven't gotten to Rural Rights yet. I've only gotten as far as this text that I tried to look up, but I can't find a free version of it, which is to the labor address. I don't think it's called that. I think it's To the Journeymen and Laborers of England, something like that. And it's supposed to be this very influential tract that he wrote about representation and having a voice. So he became more radical as he got older because of what he went through. I just read the piece about him spending 2 years in Newgate, which is both better than it sounded and worse than it sounded for him. So interesting person. I don't think I would have liked him in real life, but it's interesting to read about all the things that he witnessed. And one of the things I was going to share, which I thought was interesting, this is how I get ideas for books, actually. So on page 56, he's talking about the farm that he worked on and someone that visited him, Mary Russell Mitford. was a girl of about 18 when she visited Botley, which is where his farm is, with her father, Dr. George Mitford, man about town and ruddy-faced old rogue, who had changed his name from Midford to make himself sound more grand. Now, why does Mitford sound grander than Midford? If you're English, please weigh in and let me know. I think it's true, but I don't know why. Mitford, who combined radical opinions with social snobbery, was a compulsive gambler who quickly squandered his rich wife's fortune, as well as the £20,000 his daughter won on the Irish lottery at the age of 4. Now that is deeply intriguing. How was there a lottery in Ireland at this time? So this is like 1806. And I'm guessing if his daughter is writing and she got it when she was 4, it's like 20 years before. So like 1780. How is there an Irish lottery before the Act of Union that has £20,000 to give away? Like, what is that setup, right? And how can a person who is 4 years old win? Like, what? So that makes me want to investigate that. That's very intriguing to me. And that is how book ideas are born, because I read something on the side like that in a book and I go, wait, what kind of mess is that? And then I have to look it up and then I have to understand, and then the system, and there's a rabbit hole. You know how it happens, right? So that was an interesting little tidbit. And then the other one was, relative to today, page 115. There it is. So after he's in prison and he's writing to his friends, he's constantly having fallouts with friends. Where is it? Oh, that's page 130, 115. I finally got to the first picture photo section. Okay, so Cobbett, as it happened, was strongly opposed to machine breaking, arguing that machinery could increase economic prosperity. But this did not stop the government from blaming him and his fellow reformers for the industrial unrest. The view became widespread that an organized conspiracy was afoot and that Cobbett was playing a central role in fanning the flames. As he wrote to his friend and fellow reformer, Orator Hunt, which is Henry Hunt, who I was almost going to make a character in my current novel, but I had to switch out. At a later stage, quote, "They sigh for a plot. Oh, how they sigh. They are working and slaving and fretting and stewing. They are sweating all over. They are absolutely pining and dying for a plot." End quote. So basically, like, this is our modern day conspiracy theorists, and you know how the media blows something up and really wants to find someone caught in the act, catch them red-handed so that they can bully them out of office. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And then there's another mention of like they're sighing for a plot. They want someone to convict and be a scapegoat, basically. So yeah, but I like that cover. I think this is one of the ones I got at Scoob Books. So hardcover, used edition, carted at home in my suitcase. Hold on one second. Okay, I didn't want you to hear that, but the allergies continue. It's gotten worse here actually in San Luis Obispo, whether that's because of pollen or because of like mold in the house. There's a lot of stuff that was mildewy, moldy when we got here. So we're doing a lot of maintenance, including the first comment on this stream about the plumber coming to do 3 different jobs here. Anyway, let's see. Jim says, I only spent a few hours in Canada in 2009 at Niagara Falls. Very cool. I've never been to Niagara Falls. It's on my bucket list. That would be pretty cool. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, shoot. 10:18. That was 6 minutes ago. I'm guessing that was one of the books quote or the reading quotes from City of Bell. Maybe. Yeah. And Julie says, and then in the early 20th century, the name Mitford would become more well-known because of the Mitford sisters. Are they related, though? I don't know if they're related. Maria Russell Mitford was writing in early 19th century. Who knows? Jim says, I'm currently reading The Blue Stockings by Susanna Gibson for People April. The Dawning, 31,000 BC by Richard W. Wise. I don't know about that one. And Cryptonomicon, still by Neil Stevenson. I think this is a year on, right? Because you read it, you started it last year for March of the Mammoths, and now the next March is past. I don't think you read any of it last month, though, right? It's fine. It's fine. I would abandon it at this point. I would be too frustrated. So kudos for sticking with it if you really want to, be able to say you read it. Okay, and then now we're going to jump into imminent reads, because imminent is an important word here in America today. Don't confuse it with imminent, IMMANENT, which means everywhere, like ubiquitous. Imminent, IMMINENT, does still mean something, Tulsi Gabbard, if you get your head out of your tuchus. So imminent means about to happen, like on the cusp of happening. An imminent threat is a threat that is right about to happen. If you don't do something, it'll happen. Anyway, so actually I have started reading this. I've started the preface and gotten 6 pages in preparing for the live stream this morning. This is my buddy read with Alan's Reads. It's The Songs of Trees, Stories from Nature's Great Connectors by David George Haskell. And I got this one from a little free library. It's a Penguin book, as you can see. And I can tell you the trees, since we had some answers about the question of the day that will be covered. So the first one is Sabo. And I know about Sabo because I think it was a restaurant in DC when I was there, but it's also a name of a nonprofit that some of my grad school colleagues started, I think. I'm not sure. So Sabo is the first. It's a Amazonian rainforest tree. Then we've got the balsam fir, the sabal palm. I don't know that one at all. The green ash, interlude Mitsumata. I don't know if that's a tree or not. Then we have hazel, which I'm familiar with. Redwood and ponderosa pine, very familiar with here in California. And then another interlude for maple, as Julie pointed out. Then we've got cottonwood, calorie pear. Calorie pear, is that related to the Bradford pear? Is that one of the smelly ones? The olive and Japanese white pine. So I'm very interested. The preface was really moving. I really enjoyed it. And then we're starting off in the Amazonian rainforest with my favorite, moss. Moss has taken flight, lifting itself on wings so thin that light barely notices as it passes through. So we're talking about moss in the rainforest around the Sabo. So I'm looking forward to that. Alan says that Haskell is a bit eccentric. And I'm like, I think I might be the same type of eccentric because I really like how this is starting off. So that sounds excellent. I'm very excited about that. And talking to Ellen on Boxer about our thoughts as we buddy read, because I do love a buddy read. All right, we've got other current reads. Cat Paw saying, I'm still reading Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor, which I'm really enjoying. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. And then rereading Luminous Darkness by Eden Tull. I haven't heard of that one because it's so good. And you're reading it before you go to sleep. It's on Buddhism. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I don't know the author or the title, but I have several Buddhism sort of modern meditation category titles that I have thought were really good too, and I've wanted to reread them, but I haven't gone back to revisit any of those few that I really connected with. So I'm glad that you're connecting with that one before you go to sleep. That sounds great. And then Julie, currently reading okay, do you say fungi or fungi? Because I've heard it both ways by plant people. So I can't say which one is correct. By Lynn Body and Allie Ashby. This is for Climathon. Yay! Non-human life. All right, you're even doing a prompt. That is very exciting. It's fascinating, and there's a very real link between fungi and trees. Yes. So mushrooms are fungi, right? And they're operating in mycelial networks, and mycelial networks are those threads in the soil connecting the trees that have symbiotic relationships with the nutrients that they take and the nutrients that they give, like nitrogen for the trees. So yeah, that stuff is really cool to learn about. Yay! I'm glad you're enjoying one of your Climathon reads. That's awesome. Okay, so then I have not a imminent read, but upcoming events. So recent, I'll wait for you guys to share if you have upcoming events, but I'm going to share upcoming things, updates, right? So I have a writing update, and that is that we sent in the manuscript on Monday. So in the last 5 or 6 weeks, I've been saying that I've been actually working on the book again, which is great because it was like fallow. It was just in a drawer for almost a year. Finally got back to work on it, and I totally changed the structure, which meant I had to edit a lot of beginnings and endings and took out scenes, and so I had a lot of chopping and channeling to do. And so it was kind of a mad rush because I thought I might do one deadline and then I changed it to another. So I didn't want to do that to my editor again. So March 30th was the deadline. And it's pretty rough, but I'm looking for, does it hold together? Is it interesting enough to sort of cohere? And so I look forward to, in a few weeks, getting back the verdict from a objective, cognizant observer. Fingers crossed. So that is the second book in the Widening Gyre trilogy. ORLA is the first. Amelia is the second protagonist to be featured. ORLA also appears in this one, and the protagonist of the third book, Renewal, also appears in it. Although she's not currently named, so we'll see. We'll see if that changes. So that was very exciting. And oh, and here's the thing that I was going to share about that. So in the past few weeks, I have been going through the notes. So while I was doing a lot of structural things, I was also doing some of the easy to knock off comments that I could resolve. So do I not have permission to share this? Come on. There we go. All right. So this is when I started sharing the things that I was knocking off as one-timers from my Scrivener comments. So if you don't know, Scrivener is an app. It's a program that I use for formatting manuscripts. So you just write in it and you have, a binder and you have different ways to organize your writing. But the big benefit for me is that it formats things for different file suffixes. So I can export as a PDF and I export as a ebook, the different formats that are required to put them on platforms. It is difficult. There's a new version. I'm still learning the new version, but it is a lot better than like trying to put it in Readsy or trying to put it in Draft to Digital and like figuring it out on that end. Anyway, so Scrivener, I have lots of insert comments, right? Like, wait, this doesn't sound right. But a lot of comments pertain to, is this appropriate language for the period? And so what I noted on that was OED, Oxford English Dictionary. And I knew at some point I'd have to come back and check, was this the right word for this time period, etc. So the last 2 weeks I've been sharing with people my lovely explorations. So this is when it started. No, in fact, you may not use the word tailspin in the year 1835 since planes haven't been invented yet. So I had to think of a synonym for sent into a tailspin because there were no planes, so there was no tailspin. And I just thought this was funny because I grew up with Tailspin as a cartoon, so I shared that as a picture. We've got another one about stealing one's thunder, which was around because you had someone with a thunder sheet in the theater and wood blocks for the galloping steed. So I thought that was a fun picture. We have square away, to put in proper order, to tidy up or sort out. So the quote that was given from 1909 was, she had a head on her, Barbie had. And so I put a little Barbie picture. I was just having fun with posts. If you don't know where to find posts, if you go to someone's channel page, you'll find like there's a homepage tab, there's a live tab where all of my live streams are, and then there's a posts tab, which we call the community post tab because it used to be labeled community. I guess that's just a holdover, but this is where you can put posts like this. And so I share some of my favorite videos to watch. This is an author focused one. That was the 100th episode of self-publishing tips and tricks, which was great. And then I had a British focused interview here on Pod Save the UK that I thought was interesting. I'm still waiting for Ven to get back to me about what he thinks of their opinions. One of my comments was, "Oh, it's Jack now, is it?" And this is because I had someone whose name I hadn't decided on, and I kept changing it. And then finally, I was just frustrated with myself, and I gave myself this sarcastic comment, "Oh, it's Jack now, is it?" So anyway, I resolved that. It's no longer Jack. I think it's Ben. There we go. And then we have a little cat interlude. This is Bean's fun window view. And then we have a lot of geography comments to resolve. So here I was talking about a court of law, and Manchester has its own court boundaries now, but before Manchester was a thing, it was encompassed in Lancashire's courts and Cheshire's courts. And so I had to see where they sort of butted up against each other to see where my character would be in the court for. So anyway, I found this fun map as one of the research things I had to go down and figure out. Another beautiful view. This is near the favorite bakery in the world. Well, in the US anyway. But yeah, this is the bay, not the ocean, not the Pacific Ocean, but Estero Bay, I think. Here's another one, snack. This is a popular one. So the term snack has been in general parlance in English since 1757. When once a man has got a snack of their trenchers, he too often retains a hankering after the honey pot. Just thought these are so funny, these citations that the Oxford English Dictionary drops in. Sometimes they just make me laugh. Nondescript, that was a word that was older than I thought. So I'm like, cool, I'll put that in with a hyphen. That works. And then the latest one was yesterday. It's because I just saw this come off the archive from the BBC. How to spot the upper class. And the journalist who's interviewing folks is just a hoot. She's sort of making a gas of it. It's very fun. So if you didn't know where to find posts, there is where to go. And yeah, those are the ones that I was putting up as part of my editing process, just for fun to see people wanted to follow along. But yeah, I found that to be pretty fun. Community posts, April 1st, patron postcards coming up. So I will see who's on the list today and then start writing those out. Should be fun for some bookish mail. I think that's it for my updates then. So let's see if anyone else has upcoming events. Nope. But Julia's excited for my manuscript deadline to be met. Yes, we all are. Of course, now that means I need to go work on the cover. I actually started things at the beginning of this editing round and was like, oh, maybe if I start the cover process, that'll get me in gear. It'll get me excited to write about the character that I see on the cover. But the first one came back and I was like, this is so off. This is not going to work at all. So I didn't respond. And hopefully now that I have a couple weeks, I'll pick back up and say, okay, I've got a better handle on the character now. This is what I need. And the cover designer can like tweak it. I'm hoping I can just pick up where I left off a month ago and not have them be like, oh, this is going to cost another. We'll see. They only did one thing and then they stopped. So I think they know where I am on that. But this is the first time I've worked with him. So again, fingers crossed. So it is a lovely foggy morning up here. Again, the tree view, you can't really see it, but it's pretty overcast. It's mid-morning, so we still got some fog, but it's got a high of 65 listed today, which means it's going to be nice and cool, which means I didn't have to rush out this morning to get my walk in. I can do it more leisurely fashion later today. And yeah, I might just have a nice little walk around. I already looked for the copy of Three Musketeers in my local bookstore that I can walk to. It was not available there. They only had The Last Cavalier for Dumas, the whole section. So now I'm going to have to explore the other used bookstores in the area. And I don't know, I might drive out to one of those and explore. I didn't get distracted. I'm very proud of myself. I went into the local bookstore, saw that they didn't have the book I needed, and I went out without buying a book. So, hey, we're going to take wins when we get them, right? When we can. Is it an update? Cat Paw went back to fixing Andino and Dina, and I'm currently on chapter 36 of 50. That is commendable. Well done. Yeah, every time you engage, I think is a battle won, because it's, to me, the most resistance is like jumping in. And once you do one session, you're like, oh, okay, like the sludgy wheels start moving again, and it makes it easier for the next session. So going back in is winning a battle, definitely. Good update. Mine is about 40 chapters, so 36 of 50. Excellent, excellent. Julie says, question in the description. My taxes are done and my refunds have been deposited. Oh my goodness. Well done, Julie. I haven't shared the picture widely of our dining room table, but it is like 10 feet across. It's a round table. It's like 10 feet across. And it's about 2/3 covered with papers. It was fully covered and it's about 2/3 now. So we're working our way through it. Yeah. That resistance. Oh man. Yeah, totally. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. We can do it. But that is my update for today. I'm going to get on my postcards. I'm going to keep reading about trees. I'm going to do my little walk. Have a lovely day. Happy April. It's my birthday month. So, it's a good month. And it's nice and cool. It's not in the 80s like it was when I first got here. So we're going to celebrate that. I hope life is livable where you guys are. Hope you're reading some good things and the endings don't disappoint you. Hope you're keeping safe and diversify that reading shelf. I will see you again Friday. I'm going to also do some work on content planning because I'm seated in my pants these days. Hopefully we'll work out what Friday will be and we'll see you then. Applause for Julie. Totally. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching and take care.